What's going on, everyone? My name is Nicholas Merton here at DataDash, and today is August 27th of 2018. Well, folks, it's time for a quick daily update here on the DataDash channel. I've actually got to head out of here relatively soon for a flight up to Ohio, where I'm going to be visiting the Substratum office. There's a big announcement coming up tomorrow, so I'm really excited about that. However, for now, though, we've got some key things to talk about in the daily update. First and foremost, as always, we'll take a real quick review of market valuations, as well as doing a little bit of TA on some of the market leaders and some of the candidates you guys want me to review over. And along with that as well, we're going to be talking about a little bit of a macro trend in crypto that one of the well-known figures, Tom Lee, who tends to be on CNBC, discussed in regards to Bitcoin. And I'm going to be giving my opinion on that and also just talking about what I like about it, some things that I disagree with. Going on, though, let's go ahead and dive into the update and talk a little bit about markets. So markets have been relatively neutral over the past few days. I got to say, some of the positions I've had in this market have done very, very well as of recent. I've been sticking, again, very heavily towards the currency plays, and one of those that's actually in the red today is NANO. However, NANO has had a rip over the past few weeks. Volume has practically got up 10x from what it was before, and I think even more than that. We were getting around $2 to $3 million in daily volume, and now we're seeing around $80 to $90 million. So it was really, really incredible. Now I've taken a partial share in Nano, and I definitely will be getting back in. I sold a tad bit earlier today, and I'm looking at some other plays in the market. Again, you got to take some of those gains in this market. We're not in a full-scale bull run, and that goes with whatever players you're holding, guys. If you're getting some upticks in some of your players, again, we have to wait and see if Bitcoin's going to sustain a longer-term run-up. But for the most part, we can see the market is definitely holding relatively neutral, with most players in the green, or at least keeping up with Bitcoin. So this is good to see. Going on here, we can see in market cap that market cap is remaining neutral. Again, no serious gains right now, and again, until we see Bitcoin pick up, we're not going to see market cap really get a major tick. But we might be able to still have some opportunities to trade around in regards to altcoins in this market. And going on here, let's go ahead and take a look at market dominance. And I want to spend some time as well to clarify something. Not only does market dominance look good here for altcoins, we can see that Bitcoin dominance is not making new highs. It's starting to roll over here. And if we continue to see this trend become more clear over the next day or so, I'm pretty confident that we're going to see altcoins do quite well, even as Bitcoin starts to tick upwards. Now, I want to spend some time here before we dive into the TA side of things and talk a little bit and clarify about something that I discussed in my previous video about market trends. I talked a lot about how my big focus is in peer-to-peer digital currencies over the protocols. And some people were asking me, Nick, you just did this speech back in Chiang Mai back in April about the protocol wars, and you said how you were really optimistic on protocols, and going along those lines, are you bearish now? Now, I'm not exactly bearish on protocols. I'm bearish on protocols that are overhyped and protocols that don't have any deliverable product. That's a lot of protocols. Ones that are kind of left in the dust. It's a very saturated space. And that's what a big point of my speech was. It was about the fact that there's going to be a ton of protocols. If you remember the first slide that I had, it was a Star Wars poster, and it had all these different protocol logos all over it. And it was the fact that there was going to be a lot of hype, a lot of overvaluation, and a lot of speculation going on. So in a market perspective, I was interested in that, but at the same time, I knew fundamentally that there'd be a few good projects coming through. And we know that there's some more well-formed protocols compared to others. So my big point here, to summarize and keep things simple, is that for me personally, I believe at these levels where we are right now in the market, you could very well pick up some bottoms in these protocols and probably make some profit. It depends on which plays you pick and picking them at the right price. For me personally, though, I've been really optimistic on peer-to-peer digital currencies. I still love Nano. I love a lot of the currencies in the privacy space. Monero has been on my watch list for a while, and some of the other more well-established peer-to-peer digital currencies that are making efforts in emerging markets. Some of the markets, of course, which we'll talk about in regards to Tom Lee's comparison with Bitcoin's price. Going on here, before we dive into Tom Lee's comparison, though, I want to go ahead and take a look and review the market. Generally, we can see Bitcoin is still holding above 6,000. Again, the shorts are still high here on Bitfinex. It's generally the same as if we take a look over at BitMEX. Shorts are still more confident than the longs. Longs have gained a little bit over the past few days as Bitcoin has held resiliently over 6,000, but we're not going to be full-on bullish in regards to the price for the short term until we get above the 150-day, which are getting steadfast close to price. So I think over the next day or so, you're going to see either a breakout or a piece of resistance here where we get knocked down and we could retest those lows at 6,000. At the moment, though, we're still in the neutral zone. We're still in the twilight zone, waiting to see if we can pick up a trend. But I'm loving how Bitcoin's holding here. Now, for those of you who are curious about me and my personal position about BitMEX and the recent kind of debacle in regards to its price and the supposed maintenance that they were going through, I pretty much left off with the statement of what do people expect? I mean, BitMEX, like most exchanges, are relatively sketchy in the cryptocurrency space, but BitMEX above all is one I can't even touch legally because I'm in the US. And second off, I wouldn't want to trade on BitMEX. Now, I've traded on leverage before in crypto. I've used OneFox before. However, guys, I'll be honest with you, this is not the time to want to trade leverage, in my personal opinion, not to mention this market is highly unregulated, specifically BitMEX. They're often, I can't remember the specific location, it's a relatively offshore area where there's little to no taxing and regulation, and because of that, we don't know how they're operating, we don't know the safety of the exchange, and we don't know if there's going to be regulators checking up on them as much as we would get, for example, maybe on Coinbase, which is very, very tied with regulatory agencies in the United States. So again, I have not touched BitMEX before. I don't recommend it, and you're sure as hell not going to be seeing me putting down a referral link down below for BitMEX. I don't like the exchange personally. I think there's some serious concerns with it, but again, we'll have to see. Time will tell. People can keep trading on leverage if they want. It's completely up to you guys. It's just not my ballpark, all right? So I wouldn't touch BitMEX personally, but you guys do you if you like to trade on margin or, even if you're in the US, if you really want to push beyond the regulatory concerns and trade there, that's fine with me. Going on here, let's go ahead and take a look here at Ethereum. Now, we've been talking about Ethereum and this wedge, and finally, we've actually gotten a full contact with the 4 million Satoshi mark, and we're right here on the bottom of the wedge. We need to see a bounce on Ethereum here in the next 24 to 48 hours, and if we don't, this is very well going to probably collapse through and might have to go all the way down towards its previous lows here. There's really no steady level of support if it doesn't hold here over the next few hours and if we get a serious drop. Now, the other chance we might have a support is around here, as we've seen in the past year, around 3,400,000 Satoshis. I don't have a high bet, though, if that's the case, in regards to if we break the line of support here that we're looking at, we want to see this hold. The RSI is oversold here, so I'm not getting extremely bearish. I think it might actually hold, and we could get a continued breakout later on, going into a potential bull run in the fall and the winter. But at the moment, we have to see if this can hold. Again, we're remaining neutral. We're at the line of support here. If we start to see a rebound up, might be a little bit more optimistic for Ethereum. But some of the market leaders are just not holding up. Ripple, for example, which got a rebound back about 2 weeks ago, is still tailoring down. We're finally looking like we might be picking up some momentum. Volume is not that strong, though, so we're going to remain patient on this one and keep an eye on it. I would be really interested and Ripple personally if it curved up and cupped up to the previous highs and ran through some of these moving averages. I think that would be really, really interesting to see. Going on to Bitcoin Cash. Bitcoin Cash, again, still depleting here. I think you're going to see this go all the way back down to 5,500,000 Satoshis after we broke 9 million. That was really the hope that it would hold around 9 million Satoshis as it did back here, but it didn't. And in fact, we got some resistance there at that price range. So now we've turned previous support into to new resistance in this case. Going on here, let's go ahead and take a look at EOS. EOS itself still looks like it needs to, for me personally, I'd love to see it come down to the support level here. And as some of these market leaders will not be able to keep up with Bitcoin, I think we could see it. But at the moment, it's holding here. And we'll have to see if it can hold support. I would much rather wait, see it double bottom and break through. But again, if EOS can come back up to its previous highs, again, this is kind of the name of the game. When you're in this neutral price zone, you either want to see one of two things. You want to see it come up to previous highs and get a breakout, or you want to see the price break below the lows. So we'll wait and see if we can get some good volume coming up one way or the other. We're going to see what dictates the trend. So at the moment, staying neutral here on players like EOS, but that's generally how I trade these things. Very simple. You wait until a trend starts to form and you ride the trend. You don't fight the trend. Going on here, let's take a look at Litecoin. Litecoin is continuing to deplete. Again, I've been saying I'm waiting towards 800,000 Satoshis. I'm remaining patient, guys, remaining vigilant. We are not there yet. We are very, very close, but I'm going to be waiting until we test towards down that big even level like we've seen in the past. And we tend to see when Litecoin reaches there, for the past few times that it has, 800,000 is tended to be a range where we can get optimistic and price tends to trend higher. I've been remaining patient on Litecoin for quite some time, but I think we're getting very, very close. Going on here, let's go ahead and take a look at Cardano. Cardano holding again on previous resistance as support. So long as it keeps holding here, I'm all good. I haven't been making any additions just yet because I haven't seen a trend reversal, so I'm remaining patient. Same goes here for a lot of the other players. NEO, I've been keeping an eye on. We haven't touched 200,000 Satoshis. I think we need to do that personally. That's been a historical support level, and I'll pull that up here on Bittrex so you guys can see what I'm talking about. We've seen it over here and over here. I think we need to see it here for another third time here in regards to price. All right, so going on here, I'll talk about a few of the plays that I've been discussing. As you all know, I've been talking about NIM. I'm still keeping an eye on NIM. I have not bought any just yet, but we're getting down in that zone where last time we had a massive rally to the upside. It's relatively low volume cryptocurrency, even on Binance. So in this case, I'm going to be waiting to see if we can get some more volume and a little bit more trading in the order book. For this to really have a breakout, but we just don't have enough volume or interest in them right now. But it's in the price zone where we're keeping a really sharp eye on it. Going on, I want to talk about some of the peer-to-peer digital cash plays. NANO, which I have been keeping an eye on for quite some time. NANO is finally getting a decent sell day after what we had in regards to the past few days. It broke out of a key technical pattern it needed to hold and is currently declining. Seeing as we've broken out of this pattern, I took a partial share. It hit one of my stops that I've been rising up as the price continued to rise. I think we're going to wait and see if this can come down towards around either the 200 hour, or it might have to come down towards previous highs around here at 3,200 sats. So I'm remaining patient. I think Nano's still got much more to rally in the long term, again, with peer-to-peer digital currency plays doing well. This was just a very strong rebound off of the lows. You guys could see this thing was on a sell path for a very, very long time. So anyways, that's my key peer-to-peer digital cash play in the long term as well. Monero, I'm keeping an eye on as well. This is one of the large caps I feel relatively safe with. If we can get a double bottom here on this level and really confirm support, I think it'll rip right through these moving averages, and you could see massive rebound as we have in the past. Again, this isn't something that's rare. We've seen this multiple times historically. It's just a matter of patience, and we can see that the highs are getting generally higher each and every time. So that excites me in regards to Monero. Going on, let's go ahead and talk about the key thing here that we want to discuss in regards to Bitcoin, and that is Tom Lee's correlation with emerging markets to Bitcoin's price. Now, for those of you who don't know Tom Lee, as I was talking about earlier in the video, Tom Lee is a very familiar face. If you don't know him by his name, you've probably seen him before on the famous CNBC TV channel. This is him right here. Tom Lee is a very, very genuine guy. Basically, he's made a lot of calls on Bitcoin. He's made a lot of interesting data correlations. That's what he is. He works at a Fundstrat as one of the lead I think he's actually the lead at Fundstrat, but he's generally a very, very interesting individual. We've met back in Bangkok in Thailand at a conference, and he's one of the few people, I can tell you guys, as someone who's a little bit critical of mainstream media, he's one of the few people I care to listen to on CNBC. He's really got something to say. He knows the data. He looks at things in the sense like I do in a macro level, and he really tries to get the broader picture of things to see how these markets are going to form over the long term. And I know many people out there in the crypto space love him as well. He deserves the praise he gets. He's a really cool guy. But I want to spend some time to talk about this correlation he made about emerging markets comparative to Bitcoin here. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up the comparison here. What's nice is on TradingView, you can go ahead and simply compare different indicators here, and we'll go ahead and pull up the emerging market indicator, and we'll also go ahead and merge it to the upside here and split the chart. Go ahead and close down some of these indicators, give ourselves some room to really see if we can see the same trend that he's discussing here. So as we take a look here, we have Bitcoin's price at the bottom. I'll take it here to the full screen, and we can also see that we have the emerging market index up above. So the question here is whether or not emerging markets in Bitcoin are correlation in regards to price, and that we won't see price increases in Bitcoin until we see a rise in emerging markets. So why does Tom build this correlation? Well, we can obviously see, if you're just looking at the chart here, that there's some relatively rough similarities. We can see that emerging markets, since they've started to correct since back in January of 2018, we have seen Bitcoin's price not only continue to decline, but also stay stagnant down towards the lows. We haven't seen any kind of parabolic run-up going through most of 2018. And along with that as well, we've seen that back since 2016, back here when Bitcoin really started to pick up from 600 all the way to 20,000, we saw the emerging market index almost practically double in price. So It's very, very interesting to spot this correlation, both to the upside and then also to the downside. And it makes, on a fundamental sense, a decent amount of, logical sense here if we're really thinking about it. What markets need cryptocurrencies more than anyone? Emerging markets. These people who are in countries like Venezuela, Argentina, Iran, for example, places that need cryptocurrencies that remove centralized authority from currency creation, currency monetary policy, etc., and also maintaining a steady supply and not going through hyperinflation or having to deal with geopolitical issues. This is where cryptocurrencies can step in. However, I got to say a few things. As much as we've seen some correlations here, it doesn't seem like it would make too much sense in regards to the effective ratios. And what I mean by this is if we take a look at the price decline here in regards to emerging markets as well as what we've seen in Bitcoin, they're not at a very even ratio, especially when we compare the rise in emerging markets along with Bitcoin's price. Now, again, I don't think Tom's saying that these have a direct correlation and correlation isn't always causation. I don't think that's the case he's making. I think he's saying more than anything, if we can see an uptick in emerging markets eventually, that we're going to see Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies step up to the upside. Now, taking that aside, though, I got to say that I actually feel it's going to be the opposite. I think as we see emerging markets decline, we're going to see cryptocurrencies rise. And the reason why is because these indexes, these stocks, are going to be betting on the fact that the currencies underlying these economies are going to remain at stable valuations. It's hoping that if I buy an emerging market ETF, for example, I think that hopefully for example, the Turkish lira or the bolivar from Venezuela is going to hold its value and in fact stabilize, and that these people are going to be able to do commerce in their economies. But if we don't get that currency stabilization, I think you're going to continue to see a decline in emerging markets. But I don't think that's going to hold back crypto. In fact, crypto is going to step in and fill a void because we're dealing with two different markets here. The top chart, emerging markets, has to do with stocks. It has to do with an index on a variety of different stocks from emerging markets and indexes, whereas the bottom has to do with the competition against traditional currencies, cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin. In this case, I think we should be focusing in on emerging market currencies as well as Bitcoin. And we can see that Bitcoin is winning by a long shot in regards to the longer term trend, even to the dollar, of course, as we've seen in the longer term trend of things. So that being realized, I think Tom brings up a very, very interesting point here. I'm going to keep on looking at it. I think he's looking at the right market because emerging markets, no matter what correlation that we find, is going to play a massive role in regards to crypto adoption as well as price growth in the long term. I think people don't realize that a lot of retail investors getting involved in these markets can actually not only move up prices, but also really bring real value and real adoption to cryptocurrencies. So I think it's really interesting comparison. Thanks to Tom Lee for the awesome comparison. And I hope this chart brings a little bit better his visualization. I think CNBC didn't do a really good job showing the charts. Their charting system looks cool, but it doesn't really provide a good comparison here like we could see here on TradingView. Love the API here. But anyways, that's it for the video, everyone. I gotta head out for my flight here in just a few minutes. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful day. If you guys have anything else interesting to talk about, please leave it down in the comments down below and get a discussion going. But until the next video, everyone, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Stay tuned.